It started with a meeting no one inside Kensington Palace expected to become public. Behind sealed doors, Prince William reportedly approved a move that stunned even long-time palace advisors, a decision to place King Charles into a foundation role once strongly associated with Prince Harry's modern royal vision. Courtiers allegedly froze when the paperwork surfaced. Because this was never just about charity work. It was about power, succession, loyalty, and the silent rewriting of Harry's place inside the monarchy itself. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Reports suggest the discussion had been quietly unfolding for months, hidden beneath the polished routines of royal life while senior aides attempted to prevent details from leaking into public view. Yet according to palace insiders, the deeper the conversations became, the clearer it was that Prince William no longer viewed the foundation as simply another charitable institution attached to the crown. Different interpretations of the internal meetings describe a future king increasingly concerned about stability, perception, and the dangerous possibility that Harry's former influence over royal philanthropy still lingered inside one of the monarchy's most visible modern projects. What once symbolized youthful unity between the two brothers had allegedly transformed into something far more fragile, something politically risky. And insiders whisper that William finally decided the palace could not afford ambiguity any longer. The timing alone reportedly sent shockwaves through royal circles. King Charles remains visibly weakened after months of health struggles that have forced the institution into an uncomfortable balancing act between public reassurance and private uncertainty. Behind palace walls, however, aides are said to be operating in what one royal commentator allegedly described as succession mode, without admitting succession mode exists. That is why many insiders believe William's approval of Charles was never ceremonial. It was strategic. Calculated, deeply deliberate. Sources familiar with the discussions claim the future king wanted the foundation brought firmly back under traditional royal oversight before another cycle of instability emerged around Harry's increasingly distant relationship with the institution he once helped modernize. What made the situation even more explosive was the emotional history attached to the organization itself. For years, Harry reportedly viewed the foundation as proof that he could reshape the monarchy into something younger, more emotionally connected, and globally influential. Royal commentators frequently pointed to it as one of the few spaces where William and Harry once appeared completely united, working side by side before fractures inside the family widened into public warfare. But insiders now whisper that the palace gradually became concerned that the foundation's identity had become too closely tied to Harry personally, especially after his departure from royal duties and the devastating public fallout that followed. According to various interpretations of the restructuring, William feared the monarchy risked allowing one of its most visible charitable arms to remain psychologically connected to someone now operating permanently outside the royal system. And while palace aides allegedly warned that placing Charles into the role could deepen tensions with Harry even further, reports suggest William pressed ahead regardless. Some insiders claim Catherine quietly supported the move behind closed doors, believing the institution needed what she allegedly called a stable transition of trust during one of the most uncertain chapters of Charles's reign. Others describe the decision as part of a broader effort to consolidate the monarchy around discipline, continuity, and institutional survival, rather than emotional reconciliation. Whatever the truth may be, royal observers immediately began questioning whether Harry's influence inside royal philanthropy had effectively reached its final chapter. Because the moment Charles accepted the position, the symbolism became impossible to ignore. This was no longer merely about a foundation. It was about reclaiming control of the royal narrative itself. But the true shock was not William's decision alone. It was the reason palace insiders claim forced the future king to act now, while Charles remains physically vulnerable. For years, the foundation represented something larger than royal charity. It was presented as a bridge between generations, a modern symbol of relevance carefully built during the final years before Harry's dramatic departure from royal life. But insiders now whisper that what once looked like Harry's greatest institutional achievement had quietly become a source of concern within palace corridors. And by early 2026, William reportedly believed the entire structure needed to be reclaimed before it drifted further away from crown control. At the beginning, the project reportedly carried enormous emotional weight for the younger generation of royals. Palace commentators often described it as proof that William and Harry could modernize the monarchy together without abandoning tradition completely. There were whispers of optimism back then. The foundation was said to represent energy, accessibility, and a future-facing monarchy capable of connecting with younger audiences in ways older royal structures never could. According to various royal insiders, Harry especially viewed the organization as one of his most important contributions to royal life, something that gave him purpose beyond ceremonial appearances and palace expectations. It was not merely another institution hidden beneath the crown's endless machinery. To him, reports suggest it became personal, a legacy project, a statement that he could shape the future rather than simply inherit restrictions from the past. But over time, that same emotional attachment allegedly became part of the problem. Palace veterans reportedly grew uneasy as the public identity of the foundation became increasingly associated with Harry himself rather than the monarchy as a whole. Different interpretations of internal discussions suggest senior aides feared the organization's image was slowly drifting away from institutional neutrality and becoming emotionally tied to the Duke of Sussex at precisely the moment tensions inside the family were worsening behind closed doors. Then came the interviews, the memoir, the public accusations, and suddenly, according to insiders, questions began surfacing inside royal administrative circles that no one had dared ask before. Could the monarchy continue allowing one of its most recognizable charitable platforms to remain psychologically connected to someone now openly criticizing the institution from outside its walls? Reports suggest this concern intensified dramatically once donor relationships and media strategy entered the conversation. Some palace sources claim certain advisors worried the foundation risked becoming trapped between two competing royal identities, William's increasingly disciplined vision of duty and Harry's emotionally charged public independence. And as those divisions deepened, so did private frustrations between competing factions inside the palace. Royal commentators now point to old disagreements involving publicity, priorities, and influence as early warning signs that the partnership between the brothers had begun collapsing long before the public fully understood it. What once appeared united in public allegedly masked years of silent tension beneath the surface. By the time Harry permanently stepped away from royal duties, insiders whisper that trust inside the institution had already been severely damaged. That is why William's decision to place Charles into the role reportedly carried such enormous symbolic meaning. According to palace administrative whispers, the future king no longer viewed stronger crown oversight as optional. He viewed it as necessary. Some insiders even claim William believed the monarchy had entered a dangerous period where emotional uncertainty could weaken institutional authority if left unchecked. By bringing Charles into the foundation structure, reports suggest William hoped to anchor the organization back inside the traditional hierarchy of the crown itself. Royal commentators quickly framed the appointment as a return to the old guard, a restoration of controlled palace stewardship after years of instability, division, and emotional fallout surrounding Harry's departure. Yet beneath the polished public explanation, insiders claim another conflict had already erupted, one involving loyalty, resentment, and a private confrontation that changed everything. According to various interpretations of the meeting, tensions inside the royal household escalated rapidly once Harry's former connections to the foundation resurfaced during internal discussions. What should have been a routine leadership transition allegedly transformed into an emotional debate over trust, reputation, and institutional survival. Some insiders even described the atmosphere as icy beyond repair. Because beneath the headlines sat a question William reportedly could no longer ignore. Could the monarchy risk leaving sensitive royal influence tied to someone now operating permanently outside the firm? Reports suggest the conversation began calmly before shifting into something far more serious. Senior advisors allegedly entered the meeting expecting minor procedural discussions surrounding the foundation's future leadership. But insiders whisper that the moment Harry's past involvement was mentioned directly, the entire atmosphere changed. According to palace sources, concerns about reputational instability had been quietly building for months behind closed doors. Every new public appearance, every interview, every renewed debate involving Harry and Meghan reportedly forced royal officials to confront the same uncomfortable fear. The institution could no longer separate private family tensions from the public identity of the monarchy itself. And because the foundation remained emotionally associated with Harry in the minds of many observers, some advisors allegedly worried that even indirect connections carried long-term institutional risks. William, according to multiple interpretations of the meeting, reportedly spoke with unusual bluntness. Insiders claim the Prince of Wales argued that the monarchy had entered one of the most fragile chapters of modern royal history due to Charles's declining health and the uncertainty surrounding the future transition of power. Stability, continuity, and discipline allegedly became recurring themes throughout the discussion. Sources familiar with the palace atmosphere say William feared divided authority inside major royal institutions could eventually weaken public confidence during a period when the crown needed unity more than ever before. To him, this was no longer simply about preserving appearances. It was about protecting the structure itself, while the king remained physically vulnerable and emotionally exhausted from the pressure surrounding both his illness and the family fractures that continue to dominate headlines across the world. As the discussions intensified, reports suggest financial concerns quietly entered the conversation as well. Palace administrative insiders allegedly warned that donor confidence had become increasingly delicate amid the ongoing turbulence surrounding Harry's public campaigns and repeated criticism of royal life. Different interpretations of those warnings describe fears that uncertainty surrounding the foundation's future identity could create hesitation among influential supporters who preferred stronger institutional clarity from the palace. Some insiders even claim private conversations among senior advisors turned toward the dangerous possibility of donor fatigue if the organization continued appearing emotionally caught between the old partnership William once shared with Harry and the increasingly hardened reality of their separation. Yet perhaps the most surprising detail to emerge from palace whispers is the claim that King Charles himself initially hesitated before accepting the role. According to insiders, the king reportedly understood the emotional symbolism attached to the foundation and worried about deepening tensions with Harry even further. Some sources suggest Charles remained privately conflicted, torn between his instinct as a father and his responsibility as monarch. That internal struggle allegedly became one of the defining emotional undercurrents of the entire situation. Kate, meanwhile, is said to have urged caution throughout the process, while quietly supporting William's broader strategy for institutional stability. Royal experts now increasingly frame the entire conflict not as a simple disagreement over leadership, but as part of a much larger succession era struggle unfolding beneath the surface of the monarchy itself. But once Charles finally accepted the appointment, the palace reportedly launched a far more aggressive operation behind the scenes, one designed to permanently redraw royal influence. The moment King Charles formally stepped into the foundation role, palace insiders claim William activated what some aides privately called a stability doctrine, a calculated campaign meant to fortify royal institutions before the next era of monarchy officially begins. Reports suggest meetings intensified across Kensington Palace, Clarence House, and senior administrative offices. Old alliances reportedly shifted overnight. And suddenly, figures once closely associated with Harry's influence found themselves increasingly distant from the decision-making machinery surrounding the future king. According to sources familiar with palace operations, William allegedly understood that symbolic gestures alone would not be enough to calm growing uncertainty surrounding the monarchy's future. The appointment of Charles, insiders whisper, was only the first visible step in a much larger institutional strategy unfolding quietly behind closed doors. Royal commentators claim the Prince of Wales became deeply involved in coordinating conversations between senior aides, foundation advisors, and trusted palace officials in an effort to create what one insider reportedly described as a seamless wall of continuity around the crown. The urgency behind those efforts was said to be impossible to ignore. Charles remained weakened by illness, public confidence needed stability, and William allegedly believed hesitation could become dangerous during such a fragile chapter in royal history. As a result, reports suggest the foundation itself soon entered a period of silent but significant restructuring. Palace administrative insiders claim revised advisory oversight was introduced almost immediately after Charles accepted the role, with tighter coordination emerging between the organization and senior royal offices. While none of the changes were publicly framed as punitive, different interpretations of the restructuring describe a clear shift away from initiatives most strongly associated with Harry's earlier influence. Some projects were reportedly reviewed. Others allegedly faded quietly into the background without formal explanation. And according to palace whispers, figures once viewed as part of Harry's charitable network suddenly found themselves excluded from conversations that previously included them. What made the situation even more striking was how carefully the palace allegedly avoided open confrontation. There were no dramatic public statements, no official denunciations, no visible warfare, yet royal experts increasingly began describing the entire operation as bureaucratic warfare without public confrontation. Every adjustment appeared controlled, measured, and almost surgical in its execution. Insiders claim William specifically wanted to avoid creating another emotional spectacle capable of reigniting public sympathy battles with Harry and Meghan. Instead, reports suggest the strategy focused on something far more effective inside royal systems: gradual institutional isolation. The less visible Harry's former influence became within royal structures, the easier it allegedly became for the palace to reinforce the image of a unified monarchy, moving confidently toward the future. Behind the scenes, palace sources claim donor confidence played a crucial role in accelerating the transition. Certain influential supporters reportedly favoured Charles's appointment because they viewed it as a return to traditional royal stewardship after years of turbulence surrounding the Sussexes. According to various interpretations of donor discussions, some believed the monarchy needed a more disciplined and centralised approach to royal philanthropy if it hoped to preserve long-term institutional credibility during a period of succession uncertainty. That growing support reportedly strengthened William's position enormously. For the first time since Harry's departure, commentators began openly portraying the Prince of Wales not simply as the future king, but as the active protector of crown stability, while Charles struggled through one of the most exhausting periods of his reign. And yet, despite the palace projecting calm discipline to the outside world, insiders whisper that the emotional damage inside the family continued deepening beneath the surface. Because while institutions could be reorganized through policy, oversight, and strategic appointments, personal wounds inside the House of Windsor were proving far more difficult to contain. Yet, while the palace projected calm discipline in public, the emotional consequences inside the royal family were reportedly becoming impossible to contain. Insiders whisper that the appointment struck Prince Harry harder than many within royal circles expected. Because this was never merely about titles or ceremonial leadership, the foundation reportedly represented one of the last emotional bridges connecting Harry to the institutional future he once imagined for himself beside William. And now, with Charles stepping into that space under William's approval, many royal observers began describing the moment as a symbolic closing of the door, quiet, devastating, and potentially irreversible. According to various interpretations circulating through palace circles, Harry allegedly viewed the transition not as an administrative adjustment, but as something painfully personal. Reports suggest he once believed the foundation would remain one of the enduring marks of his contribution to modern royal life, even after his departure from official duties. It was said to represent a chapter when the monarchy still appeared united around the idea of two brothers reshaping the institution together for a younger generation. That is why insiders claim the restructuring carried such emotional force behind the scenes. Because with Charles now occupying the role under William's guidance, the message reportedly felt unmistakable. The palace was no longer preserving fragments of the old partnership. It was building an entirely new structure designed for the future reign of William alone. Royal commentators increasingly began framing the move as another sign that the monarchy was consolidating around a more disciplined and tightly controlled vision of succession. Reports suggest William's growing influence inside royal operations has accelerated dramatically since Charles's health struggles intensified. And insiders claim the future king has become far less willing to tolerate uncertainty inside institutions connected to the crown. In that environment, Harry's lingering symbolic association with the foundation allegedly became difficult for palace strategists to justify. Different interpretations of the situation describe a monarchy gradually hardening around stability, continuity, and institutional protection, even if that process carried painful consequences for family relationships already strained nearly beyond repair. Meghan, according to several palace whispers, allegedly viewed the restructuring as confirmation that hopes for meaningful reconciliation had quietly collapsed behind closed doors. Sources familiar with royal tensions claim there had once been private expectations that some symbolic bridge between Harry and the institution might survive despite the years of conflict, interviews, memoirs, and public accusations. But the appointment of Charles reportedly changed the emotional atmosphere entirely. Royal insiders suggest the move signaled that the palace had entered a new phase 1, focused less on repairing fractured relationships, and more on securing long-term institutional control before William eventually ascends the throne. The emotional impact of that realization, commentators claim, may have been far more severe than the palace publicly understands. At the same time, reports suggest King Charles privately hoped the decision would reduce future institutional conflict rather than deepen it. Some insiders claim the king remained emotionally torn throughout the process, fully aware that every step toward greater crown consolidation also risked widening the painful distance between himself and Harry. Yet sources close to palace operations whisper that Charles increasingly felt trapped between personal affection and constitutional responsibility. The monarchy, according to royal veterans, does not pause simply because family wounds remain unresolved. Institutions move forward, structures adapt, and during periods of uncertainty, sentiment often becomes secondary to survival. Meanwhile, media speculation intensified almost immediately after the restructuring became public knowledge. Commentators began openly questioning whether Harry's legacy projects inside royal life were slowly being erased piece by piece through quiet institutional redesign rather than dramatic confrontation. Yet despite the growing noise surrounding the situation, the palace reportedly maintained strict silence. No public rebuttals, no emotional statements, no acknowledgement of the increasingly personal interpretations dominating royal commentary. And according to insiders, that silence may have carried the loudest message of all. Because within the House of Windsor, distance is rarely announced directly. It is felt gradually, through absence, restructuring, and doors that quietly stop reopening. But the deeper meaning of William's decision was only beginning to emerge because insiders claim this appointment was never the end of the strategy, only the beginning. By the time the announcement settled across Britain's media landscape, one reality had become impossible to ignore. Prince William was no longer behaving like a distant heir waiting patiently for the future. According to palace administrative whispers, he had begun shaping the monarchy in real time, fortifying institutions, consolidating trusted alliances, and positioning King Charles as a stabilizing figure during one of the most fragile periods the modern crown has faced since early 2024. And in that new royal order, sentiment appeared secondary to survival. Reports suggest William increasingly views institutional discipline as the only reliable safeguard against further instability, while Charles continues navigating the exhausting physical and emotional strain surrounding his health battles. Palace insiders claim the Prince of Wales has become deeply aware that uncertainty inside royal structures can quickly spiral into public doubt, especially during moments when the monarchy appears vulnerable. That awareness, according to various interpretations of recent palace decisions, allegedly transformed William from a cautious future king into an active architect of the crown's next era. The foundation appointment was never simply about leadership on paper. It became symbolic of something far larger, a visible signal that preparations for the monarchy's long-term future were already underway behind closed palace walls. Royal commentators now frequently describe the entire situation using one phrase: duty over personal history, because beneath the emotional fallout surrounding Harry's growing distance from royal life sits a harder institutional reality the palace reportedly feels unable to ignore. According to insiders, William believes the monarchy cannot afford blurred authority during a succession-era transition already complicated by illness, public scrutiny, and years of internal family fractures. Some palace sources even claim the Prince of Wales now operates with a heightened sense of urgency, quietly accelerating structural decisions that might once have unfolded gradually over many years. To critics, the moves appear cold. To supporters, they represent survival instincts within one of the oldest institutions in the world. King Charles, meanwhile, reportedly accepted the role not out of personal ambition, but because he believed continuity itself had become essential during this deeply uncertain chapter. Different interpretations of palace conversations suggest the king understood the emotional consequences attached to the decision, particularly for Harry, yet still concluded that reinforcing institutional unity had become unavoidable. Some insiders describe Charles as increasingly burdened by the painful contrast between his private role as a father and his public responsibility as monarch. That tension allegedly hangs over many recent palace decisions. But royal veterans whisper that history has repeatedly shown the crown rarely pauses for unresolved emotion. It adapts. It protects itself. And when instability threatens the institution, personal relationships often become casualties of survival. Behind the scenes, palace administrative whispers suggest the restructuring may not end here. Reports claim additional shifts involving royal oversight, patronages, and advisory influence could quietly emerge over the coming months as William continues consolidating what insiders describe as a more disciplined framework around the monarchy's future. The palace, as always, refuses public comment on speculation. Yet observers increasingly believe the silence itself reveals how serious the transition period has become. Every adjustment appears measured, every decision carefully controlled, and every institutional change seems designed to answer the same unspoken question: what kind of monarchy will survive after Charles? Perhaps that is why royal experts now openly question whether Harry can ever fully return to institutional royal life in the way many once imagined. Because the further the palace restructures itself around William's future reign, the narrower the path back appears to become. What once seemed like temporary distance now feels, to many insiders, like the gradual construction of an entirely new royal order, one built not around reconciliation, but around certainty, continuity, and control. And within that reality, the emotional wounds inside the House of Windsor may continue lingering long after the institutional decisions themselves are complete. Because within the House of Windsor, insiders say the harshest lesson has always remained the same: the crown may forgive personal pain, but it never forgets who stands inside the institution and who no longer does. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.